For smoke?
I was looking for architecture and furniture design and shit.
Yes.
I was walking around looking.
How does this turn into a case against you?
It was a bunch of factors, bro. Number one, we was in a foreign country. They got their own rules over there. They got their own way of doing things and shit. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this shit was prejudice, you know, racism, classism, all that shit. You know, that's definitely a factor.
Bad guy. But I'm not a bad guy, you know what I'm saying? And that's clear right now. And I'm trying to show and prove. Malcolm X got a second chance. Right. You get what I'm saying? So I don't want I never wanted that stigma of anything. You get what I'm saying? I was only 16 years old. Right. We talking about 12 years ago. Everybody make mistakes, you feel what I'm saying?
Especially in our circumstances.
In our circumstances, I was in the Bronx, you feel what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. And I never was a tough, never, ever.
Y'all buckle up, because today's story is a roller coaster you didn't see coming.
To last another week before jurors decide Rocky's fate on 2 counts of assault with a semi-automatic firearm. He's pled not guilty and faces up to 24 years in prison.
Imagine having it all: the fame, the fortune, and a beautiful family with none other than Rihanna, only to risk losing everything over one shocking decision. Yep, I'm talking about A$AP Rocky, the fashion icon, the hip-hop trailblazer, and now, a man staring down the possibility of 24 years behind bars. But what really happened? And why did he turn down a deal that could have kept him out of prison? Oh honey, the tea is hot, and you're gonna want to sip every last drop. Let's rewind. A$AP Rocky wasn't just killing it in the music scene. He was living his best life. From Harlem streets to the Met Gala's red carpet, Rocky built an empire with his unique Houston-influenced sound and killer fashion sense. And don't even get me started on his picture-perfect life with Rihanna. They had 2 adorable kids, and Rocky was set to co-chair the next Met Gala, alongside Pharrell Williams and LeBron James. Life was sweet, until it wasn't. But Rocky's story isn't just about glitz and glam. His past is filled with hardships that shaped him into the man he is today. Growing up in Harlem, his father was incarcerated on drug charges, and his family ended up in homeless shelters. Then, tragedy struck again when his brother Ricky was killed in the very streets they called home. With no options left, Rocky turned to the streets, dealing drugs to survive. By 13, he was selling weed, and by 15, he was slinging crack in the Bronx. But music saved him, and he left that life behind, or so we thought. Now, Rocky's no stranger to legal trouble. At 16, he fired a gun at a neighborhood bully and landed in Rikers Island, one of the scariest prisons in the US. Though he served time as a juvenile, it was clear Rocky didn't want that life. But fate had other plans. In 2012, he got slapped with a grand larceny charge for attacking photographers, but it was minor, just community service and a small fine. Then came 2019, and Sweden. Ah, Sweden, the country where Rocky's world flipped upside down. While on tour, he got into a physical altercation with a man named Mustafa Jafari. The entire thing was caught on camera, and Rocky claimed self-defense, saying Jafari was following and harassing them. But Swedish authorities didn't care. Rocky was arrested, thrown in jail, and held for weeks under what he described as racist and prejudiced conditions. Even President Trump got involved, turning Rocky's case into an international spectacle. Though he was found guilty, Rocky didn't serve more time and even returned to Sweden for a show. But little did he know, his biggest legal battle was yet to come. Fast forward to July 2022. Rocky's coming home from a vacation in Barbados with Rihanna, probably thinking about his next big project, when boom, he's ambushed at LAX by 10 cops. Like, can you imagine stepping off a private jet and suddenly you're in handcuffs? Turns out Rocky was being arrested for a shooting that happened in Hollywood, and the alleged victim, his former friend, Terrell Efron, aka A$AP Relly. Yeah, you heard that right. This wasn't some random street beef, this was personal. According to the reports, Rocky and Relly got into a heated argument in November 2021. Things escalated, and Rocky allegedly pulled out a semi-automatic firearm and fired 4 shots, grazing Relly's hand. The police weren't playing around. They even raided Rocky's house with a battering ram looking for the weapon. And to make things messier, Relly filed a civil suit against Rocky for assault, battery, and emotional distress. But here's where it gets wild. When Rocky's trial started in November 2023, everyone expected him to take a plea deal, 6 months in jail, and he's out. But nope. Rocky said, "I'm innocent," and turned it down. Now he's facing up to 24 years in prison. Like what? Why risk it all? Some say it's because accepting guilt would ruin his career. He'd lose endorsements, tours, everything. But others think he's confident he can beat the case. Either way, it's a dangerous game. As the trial unfolded, things got even murkier. There's surveillance footage, but it's blurry and doesn't clearly show Rocky firing the gun. And Relly's story? It's got holes bigger than Rocky's fashion statements. Relly claims Rocky shot him over a disagreement about funeral costs for their late friend ASAP Josh. But later, he admitted Rocky did pay for the funeral. So, what's the truth? And why did Relly wait to go to the authorities until after he tried to get money from Rocky? Oh, and let's not forget the jury drama. Out of 106 potential jurors, only 4 were black, in Los Angeles. Even Reverend Al Sharpton called it out, saying Rocky deserves a fair trial. And here's the irony. Rocky once said he didn't want to be the Al Sharpton of hip-hop, distancing himself from social issues. But now, Al Sharpton's in his corner. Talk about a plot twist. To make matters worse, prosecutors dropped a bombshell right before the trial, a ballistic report linking Rocky to the gun. But Rocky's lawyer wasn't having it. He argued the gun was a starter pistol, legal to carry, and only fired to scare Relly off. Plus, they pointed out that Relly conveniently found shell casings an hour after the police had already searched the area and found nothing. Sounds fishy, right? Adding to the confusion, Relly's behavior post-incident raised even more eyebrows. Instead of immediately reporting the shooting, he returned to the scene with his girlfriend, found the shell casings, and then went to the cops. Like, who does that? If you were really scared for your life, wouldn't you call the police first thing? And it doesn't stop there. Relly's text messages to Rocky before the alleged shooting were aggressive and confrontational. He even threatened to beat Rocky up. Hardly the behavior of someone who's just an innocent victim. Rocky's defense team is using these texts to argue that Relly was the instigator, and Rocky was simply protecting himself. Meanwhile, fans are going wild on social media. Some are calling Relly a rat and accusing him of trying to extort money from Rocky. Others are worried that Rocky's pride is getting the better of him, and that he should have just taken the plea deal. Either way, the internet is divided, and everyone's got an opinion. And let's not forget Rihanna in all this. Can you imagine the stress she must be under? With 2 young kids and $1 billion empire to run, the last thing she needs is her partner facing decades in prison. But she's been standing by Rocky's side through it all, showing up to court and offering her support. Talk about ride or die. But the prosecutors aren't backing down. They're pushing hard to paint Rocky as a dangerous individual, even though his past legal issues were relatively minor. They're using every piece of evidence they can find, no matter how flimsy, to build their case. Rocky's legal team, on the other hand, is confident. They're poking holes in the prosecution's arguments, questioning the credibility of witnesses, and highlighting the inconsistencies in Relly's story. They believe the truth will come out, and Rocky will walk free. But even if Rocky beats the case, the damage to his reputation could be irreversible. Endorsement deals, partnerships, and public trust are all on the line. The hip-hop community is watching closely, and this case could set a precedent for how legal battles are handled in the industry. And then there's the question of what happens if Rocky is convicted. 24 years is a long time, and it's hard to imagine what that would mean for his career, his family, and his legacy. Would Rihanna wait for him? Would his fans still support him? These are the questions no one wants to ask, but they're impossible to ignore. In the end, this case is about more than just a shooting. It's about friendship, betrayal, and the high stakes of fame. Rocky's journey from Harlem to Hollywood has been anything but smooth, and this trial could be the defining moment of his career. So what do you think? Did Rocky make the right call by rejecting the plea deal? Or is he gambling with his future? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story is far from over. And trust me, you're gonna want to stay tuned for what happens next. Until then, keep your tea hot and your receipts ready, because you know we'll be back with the latest updates.